Hey everybody, I am here with Avery Kelly. He's a BTS alum and an associate pastor at Grace and Peace, which is a PCA church out in Austin, Texas. And so, Avery, thanks for taking a couple of minutes to talk with us. And I would love to hear just about your current ministry. Tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. It's a privilege. I've been at Grace and Peace Austin for about 2.5 years now. I'm an associate pastor, oversees the sort of three primary areas of ministry: our parish group ministry, which is basically our take on small groups. Austin's a unique city in the way the neighborhoods are set up. And so rather than doing like a date, time, leader format for our small groups, it's easier to show our people a map and say, hey, where do you live? Join into that group if you're able to. And because the idea is those are the folks that you're going to see most often as you're going in and out of store, checking out the local coffee shop. So sort of make your communities there and really lean into that neighbor focus. So I oversee our parish ministry. I oversee our adult ed ministry, which is typically Sunday school, as well as a few other bits and pieces here and there, some cool opportunities to dig into the more, technical aspects of teaching that are a lot of fun. And then I got this word from Harry Reeder, our unfolding ministry. How do we get folks who are coming in the door for the first time all the way through the membership process plugged in as members who are serving in the local church? And so I get the privilege of meeting with all the new faces that come in and hearing their stories and trying to get them a little bit closer in the door at Grace and Peace here.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. I mean, it sounds like you've got plenty to keep you busy there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, you're a BTS alum, and
Mhm.
so tell us a little about when did you graduate? What degree did you get? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I finished up classes in 23, but I guess I'm technically class of 24 since walked in the following spring. I did the MDiv program ordination track. I was in it for the long haul and didn't do it full time either. I worked full time while chipping away at some classes. The format and flexibility of BTS was incredible for that. It was very, very helpful. And so graduated with that in 2024. And what was did you ask about classes I took? Was that part of it?
Well, I mean,
Or
really, we've got prospective students that might be looking at these videos, and there might be guys in your situation who are thinking, "I'm feeling this call to pastoral ministry. I want to get an MDiv, and eventually be ordained. How in the world can I do this and fit this all in?"
yeah.
I'm assuming, did you take a mix of pre-recorded classes and live video conference? How did you get your MDiv?
Yeah, great question. And President Reader could correct me. I think I was one of the first to go through the MDiv almost entirely online. I think I took one in-person class my entire time, which was a great blessing. So real quickly, I'll say most of my classes, I had a few of the pre-recorded lectures. I was blessed to be coming in at the time where video conferencing was really getting some wind under its wings. And so the majority of my classes were through video conference. And that was incredibly helpful because you got, actual live interaction with the professor.
Mm-hmm.
You had time to talk with other students. So it felt like a natural classroom environment.
Yeah.
I did the entirety of my undergrad in person. So I was a little worried coming into a master's degree and saying, what's it going to look like to do it totally online? And it felt like I didn't skip a beat. It felt just like being in the classroom. So it was a great privilege for that, but allowed me to really flex in my schedule with that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a mix, but primarily video conference. Took one class in person, and I think that
Yeah.
was by choice for me because it was just one I was really interested in. We weren't too far from Birmingham.
Yeah.
And it was a great program to do that with. It was really helpful, and felt like I still came out with some good connections with the
Yeah.
professors.
Well, and obviously the MDiv worked out. Obviously, you were able to get ordained, and so
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it seems like BTS prepared you well for your current role. And I know that we have prospective students that are always thinking about different seminary options the flexibility that BTS offers, the affordability that BTS offers,
Mm,
people are also always wondering, okay, well, I mean, if I go the BTS route, am I still going to get a robust education? Is it
mm.
still going to feel like, a traditional seminary? And from what I'm hearing you say is that, yes, it felt just like that, that you were challenged and you were equipped and you had interaction with fellow students and professors. And so, really, to use your words, you really didn't skip a beat.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll admit, when I just graduated undergrad and was looking at an MDiv, looked at all the normal choices guys would look at that you get recommended, and saw, man, that is money that I cannot dish out right now. My wife and I were newly married. I was working an hourly job. And we were at a small enough church that we couldn't do a lot of the programs that are meant to help students afford those kind of seminaries. Even that was too much of a stretch for us. And a friend of mine, who was an elder at our church and also a BTS alum, said, "Hey, you should check out this seminary. It's really affordable." And so I started looking into it. And my initial thought was, this seems too good to be true. Is this actually going to be a robust education? And within the first few classes, I realized, yeah, I feel like I'm not getting anything different here than I would have at one of these other bigger
Mm-hmm.
seminaries, who have a little bit more clout behind their name, I guess. Professors were still rigorous, and yet because of the class sizes, they were also willing to work with us. I feel like I got all the information that I needed to help give me a good start into the training for the ordination process within the PCA. Those are pretty rigorous exams, but I got a good lay of the land and a helpful start in that. And I would say that one of the biggest things that really endeared me to BTS, was, one, the education was great. We were really challenged and pushed, and I learned a lot throughout my time at this seminary. I think most importantly, though, is, throughout the entirety of the MDiv program, I can't remember a single professor who didn't, at some point in the class, significantly connect what we were learning to boots on the ground vocational ministry. This is what we're learning, but this is how you're actually
Mm-hmm.
going to minister to your people with
Yeah.
this, or use it in this particular context. And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure you would get that at other seminaries. It felt like a very academically rigorous, but pastorally focused or
Yeah.
ministry focused seminary. So I was really appreciative of that.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. I mean, I know when I talk to prospective students, I'm telling them, one of the benefits of BTS, aside from flexibility and affordability, is you're actually learning from week in, week out practitioners of either pastoral ministry, counseling, whatever it might be.
For
You're
sure.
actually talking to and learning from people who do this day in and day out. And
Yeah.
I mean, that really matters, especially when it comes to application time. And you might ask a
Hmm.
question, more often than not, you'll hear a professor, like, hey, that was a really great question. I was actually having a talk with a guy last week and we talked
Hmm.
about this. And so I think that's definitely something that's worth pulling out, especially as students are weighing options. And kind of along those lines, let's say there's a prospective student out here who is watching this video and hearing about your experience, which, our alumni are our best reviewers. They're our best,
Yeah.
recruiters in many ways because they've been through the degree, they've lived it, they know it. So let's say there's a prospective student who's considering BTS. What encouragement would you give them to really keep BTS as one of their top tier options?
So that's a great question. Yeah, I think I would just encourage them with, I mean, brass tacks, it's hard to beat this kind of affordability. I mean, you're just not going to see it out there. And that's a huge help, especially going into a vocation that we all know is not going to be a great one to pay off any kind of student debt.
I know that
Um,
well.
yeah. But I mean, it's not, you don't go into ministry for money. Probably
Sure.
shouldn't choose a seminary totally based on money. It's an important factor. Um, But I would say, I mean, that should be one thing right in the front of your mind. It's gonna
Sure.
be incredibly affordable. I paid for BTS for the first half of it totally out of pocket on an hourly wage with a wife who had no job at the time because she was going through her student teaching for her program and
Right.
was still able to make it work, which is incredible, especially for the caliber of education that you
Hmm.
get. Um, yeah, and in addition to that, though, why you should keep BTS at the forefront, man, I have just never experienced such a close connection and encouragement from professors as I did in the academic environment of BTS. I had some close relationships with my professors in undergrad. I went to a local university, did a philosophy program. So it was a pretty small program, tight knit. I
Hmm.
had some really good relationships there, but there was nothing like the conversations that I got to have with Dr. Haley, or even the face to face time that I got with President Reeder in some of the classes that he taught, or some of my time with Justin and his encouraging comments. It was just a time that not only formed me pastorally, but also encouraged and assured me of my call.
Hmm.
These were professors who I got a lot of time with, who were able to say, "Hey, I just want you to know I see the gifting in you. I'm affirming your calling, and I want to see, I want to help you see this through."
Sure.
It was just an environment that really felt like every class I took, the professor was for me, that they wanted me to see it to the end and get me out there ministering for the Lord. So it was just a really encouraging time, and I would say I'd be pretty surprised if that was not also their experience, whoever's
Hmm.
considering the program. And so I think you should keep it at the top of your list for that reason alone.
No, that's super helpful. I mean, I definitely know as we've talked, you have students that are checking out different seminaries and different options. And we try to tell folks, the seminaries that are kind of in our lane, we're grateful
Mm,
for them. BTS offers
sure.
a few distinctives and, affordability, flexibility, all those things we've talked about. But I mean, I think your personal testimony of what it was like to actually sit in a class, interact with the other
Mm,
students, interact with professors, them even, I mean, affirming kind of the gifts and the call. I mean, that's a part of the seminary process. It was for me
yeah.
as well. And so, I'm glad to hear that, that was your experience as well. And we hope that that's helpful for a prospective student out there who might be considering BTS. And so, I appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to talk with us. And if you are watching this video and you happen to find yourself in the cool city of Austin, make sure you go get some great brisket. And then if you're looking for a place to worship on Sunday morning, please go check out Grace and Peace and go see one of our great alums, Avery Kelly. So, Avery, thanks for taking a couple minutes to talk with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Dave. It was a privilege.